I have overestimated our current elected members. I thought they could understand this because it's quite clear and all the evidence is there. Our development plan principles that were to see 100% of the floodplain not go into private hands but be public reserve were ignored at the original subdivision and ignored again when they subdivided Lot 25. You will note in all the correspondence and discussion from staff explaining the brilliance of a land management agreement and finished floor levels, when really they should have used our development plan and all that land should have been reserved for the people of Victor Harbor. This was made absolutely clear by Council's own $20,000 investigation in 2018, but elected members failed to pick up on it. Even in January this year, CEO McCurdy explained to the elected members the Land Management Agreement cannot be utilised to get around the requirement of the Development Act. The finished floor levels of the Land Management Agreement were satisfactory, but they were nowhere near as stringent as our development plan. The Land Management Agreement allowed the floodplain that was destined to be reserved sold by the developer. Just listen to what Council's own investigator says. Don't listen to an insurance company, and certainly don't listen to staff involved in this shonky business.
You can see an engineering report that was provided. You can see correspondence going backwards and forwards between engineers, and engineers reporting that we can manage the outcomes. The focus was, and it quite often happens unfortunately, but the actual focus moved towards outcomes of developing the land rather than perhaps the principal question: should land be open space or allotment? In effect, despite the deficiencies with original approval, the land management agreements managed to ensure the sites can be developed.
Ensured the site can be developed.
This is one that undoubtedly will raise some debate. There is certainly a lot of correspondence on Council's file that talks about flood risk. There is information from the applicant's engineers, Tompkins, and then there's subsequent advices from Council's engineer, Conor Wagner, with Council staff interacting between the two, seeking information. So there's a lot of correspondence that went backwards and forwards up to the planning decision at the council meeting on the 27th of March. And a lot of that information was still coming in very, very late in the piece ahead of that meeting. I think one observation when you read the file goes back to almost day one with the Tonkin report. So I understand there's a lot of potential criticism of council and the like, but when you look at the Tonkin report, their criteria didn't have any reference to the development plan.
Tonkins knew nothing of the development plan, and there was no correspondence about the development plan. It was all land management agreement.
That detailed contour survey plan, ideally that would have been available to inform the planning decision. It helps the assessment of Principles 7, 9 and 19 in terms of defining the extent of the floodplain. It's important to note though that flooding was not dismissed as an issue. It was central really to the file at the time. there was a lot of advice given, as I've mentioned, in the lead up to and following the planning approval. Again, I can see that the issue is that the focus of that engineering advice was not directed towards Principle 7 and 9 and Figure 4.
The engineering advice and all the correspondence was directed at the land management agreement. He has just explained to you that the surveyor's floodplain map, which defined the extent of the floodplain, was not available. That floodplain map that defined the extent of the floodplain was begun just after the decision had been made to subdivide. If it was the intention to use a development plan, that surveyor's map was to be provided prior to the decision being made. The floodplain had to be defined in order to consider Principles 7 and 9. Tonkins and staff and the developer were all using the old council-wide principles, not the new Principles 7 and 9 from our development plan amendment. This was premeditated by the developer and staff. I've been told the developer did not have enough funds to pay for a full survey map. But the reason is not important. Current staff blatantly lied to elected members, saying that this concept approximate map defined the extent of the floodplain. Current staff never verified the boundary for any of the developments along the floodplain. This is a wastewater map with a sketch 1 in 10, nothing at all to do with the 1 in 100 year floodplain that is required by Principle 7 and 9. And this is what they should have had, this map. Use this map, it would show all the developments on the prohibited floodplain. That is why they never showed that map. Now you have all this information, and there is plenty more. Think about what the CEO has told you. The Land Management Agreement cannot be utilised to get around the requirement of the Development Act.
When you look at the Tonkin report, their criteria didn't have any reference to the development plan.
Just another point. With current staff spruiking the 100% reliance on the Land Management Agreement finished floor levels, and what a magic solution they were. A few years ago, I got Grant Mann, the local surveyor. He tested one. It was well over a metre below the required floor level. Has Director Pathouse explained that to our elected members? Over this issue, current staff have simply lied. And it's taking up my time to do these videos to catch up with all the lies. And yet, elected members still blindly follow them and their advice.